Welcome to St. Augustine this evening, the Mike Davis Show. It is Wednesday, the 21st of August, and my mailbox is about to file suit. I'm going to let you guys know, first of all, if you tuned in yesterday for the show with Davey, which was absolutely amazing, and then you turned into the awesome coverage of the election results last night. Thank you very much. If you didn't, you can tune in and watch. Congratulations to all those candidates that won, and thank you for all those who ran. But we got a normal show today here. We got a great guest and cast, and we are going to have a lot of fun. It's my last show of the week. I got things to do on Thursday. So Amanda and the Bollocks boys. By the way. Amanda, I'm not going to be here Thursday. I was going to wait till the end of the show to tell you. I was hoping you weren't listening to this part, but you were.
Unlike you, I listen when you talk.
What?
Exactly.
Amanda, you're here. I didn't even see you.
Everybody else knows I'm here.
All right, let's read some ads. Let's make some money.
Okay.
Let's introduce our guest, who's our normal Wednesday guest, who couldn't be here last Wednesday, but I can't complain because the Wednesday before I wasn't here, or the Wednesday before that. It's been like a month. I know. It's been amazing. All right, Powell Heating and Air Conditioning. They've been serving St. Augustine and St. Johns County for 40 years. Powell Heating and Air Conditioning wants you to feel confident in everything they do, from the moment they answer your call to the time they arrive at your home, until they get your AC unit working and fixed and back in order. They've got a fleet of over 10 trucks and a 15,000 square foot warehouse stocked with parts and equipment ready to serve you around the clock. And around the clock, they mean around the clock. They're serious. They're not joking. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, nights, weekends, holidays, it's all included. They're open all the time for you. And in Florida, you need a good AC company during the summer. And then when we have those freezing cold nights, you need a good heating company.
All 6 of them.
And they do them all. Yeah, those 6 nights come like out of nowhere, though.
Yeah.
But call Powell Heating and Air Conditioning so they can take care of your heating and air conditioning needs. 904-794-2665. That's 904-794-2665. Powell Heating and Air Conditioning. Great folks.
Absolutely. Another set of great folks are the folks at A to Z. They offer free estimates, and they have been serving St. Johns County for over 20 years in the construction industry. They offer painted metal roofs for saltwater area homes with warranties for up to 25 years. They also do shingle roofs with warranties for up to 50 years. They install tile roofing, cedar, shake, shingles, designer roofing, and flat roof coverings. Recent job photos with material descriptions can be seen at A to Z Roofing and Waterproofing.com. Chuck McCone and his team will make sure that your roof is ship shape and nice and watertight. Solar Stick, they were established in 2006. They are a local portable power company proudly committed to American manufacturing, constant innovation, and creating jobs right here in St. Augustine, Florida. Solar Stick's focus on providing solutions for self-sufficiency helps users all over the world complete missions and save lives. Solar Stick, changing lives, saving lives, and reviving American manufacturing.
And Moultrie Creek Diner and Anastasia Diner. These are neighborhood diners that are more than just a place to eat. They're where hospitality blooms and friends gather. Bring your own friends or make new ones. The coffee is always hot, the smiles are genuine, and the food tastes like home. Every meal is a chance to make memories, share stories, and create bonds that last a lifetime. It's not just about the food on the plate, but the community that comes together at the table. Come see us at Moultrie Creek Diner or Anastasia Diner. Tell them Andy sent you. If you're part of Big Brothers Big Sisters, he will give you a discount. He is an amazing guy.
Nice guy, that guy.
Awesome guy, Andy. We love having you.
Trivia.
And he won trivia. It's the first winner in a long time that was not an in-studio winner that won trivia. And we are welcome to have the youngest. Well, I guess Blake's the youngest.
Yeah.
The second youngest member of the 904 Now team, Levi Moore. Welcome back.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
It's nice to have you back.
Yeah, so it's nice to have you back.
I know. I have, you and I, every once in a while with weekly hosts, I'll be out, they'll be out, and we won't see each other for a month.
Yeah, it's been a month.
And it's like, oh yeah, we do a show together. Yeah, Davey gets crying a little bit when that happens. He really takes it as though I'm avoiding him. So you got to be careful with Davey. And then Bobby wanted to know if we're rested up from last night. Yes, Bobby. Amanda and I and Pete all took some time today to go stop by Troy's office. Nothing happens there. It's quiet. There's no email. There's no phone ringing. And we had a great relaxation therapy session. I highly recommend Troy's office. No work ever gets done there.
That's funny. Did you check out the afternoon show today?
I did not.
Ancient City Brewing.
Oh, cool.
They are partnering with the Jacksonville Jaguars to make this specialty beer that you can get at the stadium. And they left me one. Thank you, Davey. Thank you, Ancient City. Thank you, Jacksonville
What's
Jaguars.
on that? What's the 30?
It's first and goal. It's 30 seasons.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
It's very cool.
You're going to drink that during the show or after?
We'll find out.
All right. And then I was joking yesterday that I was still going to get mail. Yeah? I still got mail yesterday. Mail? I got a Jim Priester mailer and I got an anti-Ann Taylor mailer yesterday, all at the same time.
Well, neither one of those worked.
They did not. Well,
Jim Priester lost and Ann Taylor won.
Ann Taylor won.
Anti-Ann Taylor.
Yes, the anti-Ann Taylor. It compared it to Ann Taylor, the store.
That's what I always think of.
Which doesn't do me any good. I renovated a store at State Road 16 30 years ago for Ann Taylor, and they're no longer there. It's been like renovated several other times. But yeah, there was all kinds of stuff that was in the mail the last couple of days. Those were the last two. I know that I will get more when I get home today.
So you're up to 139.
And Darcy actually threw a few away.
Yeah.
I'm probably closer to the 150 mark.
Probably.
I did think about, though, I don't know, Levi, if you noticed, Donald Trump endorsed several people. So he endorsed David Shore, he endorsed Henry Dean, and he endorsed Roy Lane.
Lost.
I didn't know that.
And all three of those lost, which is kind of interesting in a county that will overwhelmingly vote for Donald Trump in November. So I thought that was really interesting. It goes back to that saying that all politics is local.
Yeah.
And maybe,
well, those endorsements also came much later than they needed to be helpful. Yep. His earlier endorsement of Tom Leake, who is David Shore's competitor, that one seemed to stick.
Yeah. Well, it was very interesting. We'll go to Governor DeSantis. So he endorsed Tom Leake. Tom Leake wins. Governor DeSantis endorsed Roy Alamo. Roy did not win.
Yep.
So, I think this was a much more local election, and it was not influenced at the state level, and it wasn't influenced at the national level. To me, it didn't seem like it had that weight. I will say Governor DeSantis influenced the school board race 2 years ago.
Yeah.
When Jennifer Collins won, because he endorsed her and she won hugely on election day, bigly on election day. Yes. So I think sometimes it does have an impact. I don't think it had an impact this time. And I do think we talked about yesterday, return on investment, the amount of money that was spent in advertising was a total waste of money.
Oh, yeah.
25% of the people that are registered to vote in St. Johns County showed up to vote.
Yeah.
That is a bad number.
That was abysmal. And I think that part of it is just because they were over it. They were so sick of it, and they just wanted yesterday to pass.
Yes.
I didn't even know there was elections. So...
They should have.
I mean, maybe they should have had some Instagram ads or something for my generation, because I'd be curious to see the
demographic.
The age demographic of who showed up.
Younger people traditionally do not vote. They do not vote in large numbers. They typically lean Democrat, which is why Democrats always try to have young voter issues on a ballot. Legalizing marijuana, abortion is going to be a big issue this cycle in the presidential, where they're trying to get all of these referendums and amendments on the ballot. Donald Trump would be really smart to walk out and go, there'll be no national ban on, I'll sign a letter, there's no national ban on abortion. It's a state-by-state issue. And if he did that, I think he would be very smart, because you've got, and the ironic thing, and why I read too much, I don't know, but I actually read an article last week. The number of abortions being performed now is higher than when Roe v. Wade was in place.
Yeah.
It has increased. It has increased the last 2 or 3 years, each and every year. We actually did more last year than we did prior to. So for me, as somebody who I look at those as all children whose lives have been ended, that's how I look at it. Whenever someone says, well, we don't have access to it, you have more access to it now than you've ever had to it. A lot of it is technology, right? A lot of it is the Plan B pill and all of these different options. But
now you can get an abortion at the DNC. I mean, for pity's sake, there are mobile abortion units, which is terrifying. It's not like it's an innocuous procedure for the mother. I mean, you can make whatever argument you want to make about the baby. I have my argument, but like, it's not like it's zero risk for the mother. And for there to just be a mobile unit is insanity.
Well, I thought we should send Levi up there for the other reason of the mobile unit to see how that was going.
Oh, no, you don't want that.
Where are you sending me for what?
Suddenly, danger, Levi, danger.
I would go to the DNC, but it would have to be on my own accord, and I'd have to have free reign, not for any mobile units.
You know what the mobile unit is for you?
If I had to guess, it would probably be a transition unit.
No, worse for you, buddy. Way worse for you.
So there is a vasectomy mobile unit. So you can go and make sure that you'll never put anybody in the position of considering an abortion.
Yeah. I'm going to pass on that.
They do have free frozen peas at the end.
Cool.
It has to be peas, not steaks, because they're all vegans.
I want to touch on something that you said, that the younger generation typically votes Democratic.
Yes.
I will bet you, we can do a little friendly wager that does not happen this election.
Well, I think
are you going to break that down by gender?
No, I'm just saying younger people under the age of 35 and younger.
Break that down by gender. That's what you need to
do. I think
just
here,
the total.
I think here locally, you have a conservative vein of young people, right? But if you go to the cities, not so much, right? And then Amanda's right. The most liberal people in the United States right now
young women,
young white women.
Yep,
young white women are the most liberal group. They check all the boxes of being the most liberal group.
I would still bet that if we took under the age of 35,
yes, regardless
of gender, overall ballots, that Trump wins in that demographic.
If we can find data on that, I'll take that bet, because I think that's like the bet I made about one of the candidates last night, getting more than 40% of the vote, and I knew they wouldn't. I won a nice dinner out of last night.
I could be naive to the fact, but I'm telling you, from what I've seen on social media where I work and how Trump has handled social media versus the Democratic Party, I'm telling you that from what I've seen, that I believe that he will win the younger vote.
If he does, he wins in a landslide.
Yeah.
Right. If he does, he wins in a landslide. And I'm convinced of that. But young people typically mean to vote, don't vote. I have a son who was going to vote one way in an election, called up his buddy. He said, "Hey, are you going to vote today?" He said, "Yeah, if I do, I'm going to cancel out your vote." Well, if you don't go, I won't go, and then we're even, right? So, I mean, in their head, they're like, well, we both talked about it. I'm like, yeah, but I still would have gone and voted. I mean, I'm a guy that I think I have missed one special election since 1984. I didn't vote in a presidential back in 84. I just didn't get an absentee ballot. Reagan was going to win in a landslide, and I just didn't. I voted in the local primary, but I didn't vote in the general. Those are the two elections in my lifetime that I have missed. The rest of them, I've been at all of them. So, yeah. But I think it's going to be. Trump needs that young vote. He needs the male vote. He needs the African-American male vote, which is trending towards him, which has become very interesting. The Democratic Party, as they cater to all of these different groups, have now alienated men. They now have said, we don't need men.
So I would caveat you on this. He doesn't need to win any of those demographics that you mentioned. He just needs to mitigate the losses. So if he were to win those demographics, then a Democrat's never getting elected again. Like that would be the real big switch, which actually never happened if you look at the data. But if he just mitigates the losses and he increases the percentage that he got in 2020 in each of those demographics, then, that would be him winning. To your claim, this is the youngest. This is the most conservative that generation has ever been, that the younger generation has ever been, but it's still not conservative yet. Young males are getting more and more conservative, but young females they're going harder left. And so they sort of cancel each other out to a certain degree. It's real funny if you want to go down. There's a page called Women Reporting on Their L's or something like that. And it's all of these like far leftist women saying they can't find a dude that's attractive that they want to date. And all the hot guys are Trump voters or conservatives. And it's kind of hilarious. Because some of them are like, well, I'm starting to look into PragerU and I'm starting to consider their ideas because I can't find a guy that's interesting or attractive at all that treats me with respect that votes the same way I do. So maybe I'm going to hold that a little loosely. It's pretty funny.
I've watched a lot of those. Yeah. And to me, it's really interesting that you've got men that are like, okay, I'm willing to try to date somebody who thinks differently politically than me.
Yeah.
And you have to be the expert on this, Levi, because I've been married 35 years, so I'm way out of this game. I joked with Davey and Amanda a couple months ago that, the last time I went on a first date, Ronald Reagan was president, right? That's how far back.
Good for you, though. That's something to be proud of.
Well, it is. But we need advice on this, and we need information. But I think some more liberal women are like, I would never date somebody who would vote for Donald Trump. Immediately take an entire segment of the population because of who they vote for and go, no, I will not vote for them. So my question is, do you see this in the dating world for young people?
Well, I've been with my girlfriend for 2.5 years.
Congratulations.
And it's the first official girlfriend that I've ever had in my life. So I played the field when I was younger. And so I could only speak about prior to dating her.
Yep.
I didn't really, when I was dating around, I didn't really talk politics with these women. Our conversations were never that deep.
If you were not looking for them as a partner, politics was not in the list of things you were talking
Correct.
about. I'm going to seriously bet you had other things on your mind.
Correct. But it's dating in America. If you're young right now, is very hard. Everyone has the apps. They just talk through there. A lot of people put their political views on the app when you're looking at the profile, and people just swipe the opposite direction when they don't see something that they like. I see it reflected in even the amount of young people that are not getting married, not having kids.
Yep.
It's really taken a toll. And it's interesting to see. It's funny because like you said, or she said, the younger men are starting to tend to be more right-winged and the women are going the opposite direction. And maybe that's why we see such a huge discrepancy in the marriage at a young age.
I think your generation is skipping the early marriage. Right?
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
There's a lot of data that says you guys are in relationships that are more long-term relationships, but you're not committing to marriage until later. So some of those relationships go on for quite a while. But there's a lot of data on that early first marriage in your, early 20s, mid 20s that doesn't last very long because it's just a wrong match. It's two young people that and so it'll be curious though if you get to be in your 70s and I won't be around to see this. And you're like, yeah, I've still had enough of this person and I want another relationship at 70, right? I don't know how that rolls out. I mean, we're at an age, and this is kind of really interesting. When I grew up, if somebody got to be 60 years old or 70 years old, that was really old, right? I'm 58 now. I'm hoping to get to 80, right? I'm like, it's a different time.
You're going to hit 100 easy.
So, well, I hope so. That would be awesome. But if you got married in your early 20s like I did, and you live to be, you can expect right now to live to be 70, 75 years old. You can get 50 years of marriage out. 50 years of marriage when I was a kid was a rare thing, but you could have a whole generation. The other issue is because we're living so much longer and because there's been so many changes in our society, there's a lot that you have to deal with as a married couple going through that, right? Because it's the internet didn't exist when you got married, right?
Correct.
Social media didn't exist when you got married. There's so many things that didn't exist that are now part of everyday life. So you're trying to navigate that and then trying to navigate all of the different changes that you go through normally. It's just a lot of work, and your generation is going to catch that as they go forward. Cause I don't think that the social changes are slowing down.
No, they're not. And social media has definitely been the catalyst for all this for sure. Because then you get, I hate to say it, you get women that just post themselves in promiscuous ways. You
get men posting themselves in that way too.
You do get men posting themselves that way too.
You guys been looking at my Facebook page again.
But you haven't posted in 18 months.
but in my experience, this I can only speak from my own experience, and this just comes from hanging with the guys and talking with the guys. The guys look at the women that post themselves that way, and they might not even know they're portraying themselves that way, but they look at them as just, have fun with her and nothing more. And so I think it's hurting definitely more than it's helping in the dating aspect of society.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's another thing that you're seeing more often is there was a big push for during that thing we don't talk about that happened in 2020 to I can't make money, so I'm just going to start an OnlyFans. It's online, so it's safe and it's, you know, relatively anonymous. And you're finding a lot more articles of people saying, I can't date now. I can't find anybody who's willing to date me. The second they find out that I'm on OF, then they're done with me, or they want to monetize it in some way. They want to exploit it in some way. So I think there's going to be a huge backlash. And the people my age, the people that are in their 40s, when we first started having kids, social media was only the people that you knew saw anything. And so it felt kind of like you were just in a group chat. And so you're posting pictures of your kids and you're posting pictures of your life and, you know, interacting with your family. And that was just like a way to stay connected with people that weren't close. But social media then changed and it became much more public. It's much harder to keep things private these days. If the illusion of privacy is kind of ridiculous at this point, there is none. But people aren't posting their children anymore. Most of the people I know that have had babies in the past 5 years, they hardly ever show their child on social media. And that's a huge difference from the elder millennials like myself.
Is that because they're just having uglier babies? I'm kidding. I'm just...
No, it's a risk.
Yeah, it's a risk.
It's a risk.
We didn't think that we were endangering our kids, and we didn't think about whether or not our kids needed to consent to being on social media at that age. We were just sharing them with our family and friends because we were excited to be new parents. And then social media opened up and it was no longer just your friends saw your content. Once you were able to share it, and once the default position was that the whole world saw things and social media became more of a business model than staying connected, then it became a real danger to have I've gone back and I've taken my children's images that I shared when they were younger off. And now I don't share anything that I don't ask them for permission
How
to
much
share.
did the kids win in the lawsuit against you and Louis?
I can't disclose that amount.
I'm going to ask every time. I just want to know how much money they won.
I can't tell you.
Well, it's funny that you bring this up because in my industry, in the live streaming world, in order to stream on a platform like Twitch, you have to be 13 years old unless you have a parent there with you. So it's
like in the frame with you?
Or like streaming with you, co-streaming. So you can't monetize your Twitch. You can't do anything until you're 13. So it looks like across the live streaming world that they've kind of set this precedent for 13 being the age.
Yeah.
In my opinion, that's still too young.
It's still way too young.
I think that it should be 18. Like anything else, at least to monetize it.
Yeah.
Because now you've got these kids and there's 13-year-olds, there's a 9-year-old in our video game community that's huge. He's massive.
Is he good?
He's good. He's good. He's got a good personality. He's funny. He's 9 years old.
Potential?
He's got potential. He streams with his dad. His dad streams too as well. And I think it's a cool father-son bonding thing to do together. But, you know, this kid's growing up. He's growing up in front of an online world.
Yeah.
And we see, like, look at Justin Bieber. Look at all the people that started so young and how I think just from our social experiment of having celebrities that are young, it's a detriment to start that way.
For sure.
So it's interesting, but that's where the world's headed. That's what it is. Everything's going online. Everything's going digital.
Oh, for sure.
People are buying from creators more than buying on advertisements. That's where it's headed. So it's a slippery slope.
I'm going to enjoy getting older and not being a part of all this.
Yeah, for real.
I got to tell you.
Well, I mean, my kids are getting to the age where they want their own channels. Yep. They want to try and figure out ways to go viral. And we're like, no, you can't. And so we were like, well, how about this? If you can figure out a area of content that you can create where you're not disclosing your location and you're not in the frame, then we'll talk about it. But outside of that, your face is not going to be on YouTube, on Twitch, on TikTok, on all of the things with your location out there. No, it's you need to be an adult before you ever take that on.
No, I completely agree with that. Right? And we do this show all the time. We do a lot of news and everything. And you're joking. I don't post a lot of stuff on social media.
No, you never do.
I post this, but a lot of that is that's my private life. If you listen to the show, you'll get glimpses of that. But I'm not going to share every bit of that with the world. People don't need to know where I ate breakfast this morning. They don't need to know that. If it's some big event, life-changing week, you have a grandbaby or something like that, I'll put that out there. But I tend not to. Darcy dropped off of Facebook years ago. So if I see something that's one of her friends that I'm in their feed, I have to copy, paste, and text it to her. Hey, you might want to reach out to this person. They had an anniversary, they had a birthday, they had a death in the family. But the only reason she knows is because I'm posting, I'm sending her that stuff, right? She's like, hey, thanks for saying, because she had her Facebook account tied to an old email, and she lost the password for the old email. So she can't go back
into the Facebook.
She can't get into it. And she's like, you know what? I'm just deleting it. And I'm like, okay, whatever you want to do. I don't, for me, it's funny because I have kids that are a little bit younger and the same age as Eli, right? And all of them joke, whatever social media was out there when they came of age, that's like the social media that they stuck with.
Yep.
Yeah.
And as new stuff came out under it, they're calling their younger sibling, hey, what's this new platform? And do I need to be on this?
Yeah, exactly.
Do I have to be there? And the younger one's like, no, I don't want you there. I don't want you on that platform.
Can you still get on MySpace?
No, I don't. You can't. I tried recently. I tried to go back and look at my MySpace page.
Oh.
I'm looking.
I mean, I learned more about how to work a keyboard, about computer science from editing my MySpace page by myself than I ever learned in my computer science class at school. So
that's because your professor couldn't do MySpace, or if they were, it was too creepy and they didn't want to tell you about it.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that Wesley had a great one night because she's on, I guess it was MySpace with a couple of her girlfriends and one of the guys in their class. This is in middle school, was basically talking to all of them, not knowing that they were in a group chat talking about him. And I was like, man, that's just cold. I'm not going on any of that stuff.
MySpace.
I'm not going on it. Did they really?
Yeah.
Yeah, MySpace is gone. And what's funny is that guy, Tom, that created MySpace, he did it right.
Out.
He did it right. He created MySpace, sold it for this huge bag, and just disappeared off the face of the earth.
Yep. Yeah. He travels.
And that's real. I mean, for me, that's kind of funny. We've done stories about this that, in the future, people are going to sit at home and an online content creator will go to a state park like Yellowstone and film this, and you'll never leave your living room. I'm like, this is awesome. There'll be less people out there when I go wander through Yellowstone. I can enjoy it. I won't have the crowds.
People will do it virtually. They'll put the Oculus on and they'll get the virtual tour, and they'll, you don't have to stand next to a wild bison when you can virtually stand next to one.
Going back to what we were talking
fun in
about,
that, Levi?
I agree with you. I agree.
Going back to what we were talking about as far as political affiliations by demographics, Tim Pool makes the argument that we're in the final stages of Democrats having political power. And that's because the men so women control access to sex, men control access to relationships. That's just the way it works. Women they're the ones that say yes or no to hooking up, and men are the ones that propose. So by and large, that's the way the human species works. So men being more and more conservative means that women are going to be forced to be more conservative or be left behind as far as relationships go. Because men are choosing to be celibate if the choice is deal with a blue-haired feminist who's going to be screeching and aborting their babies, or be celibate. They're choosing celibacy. They're not choosing.
Oh, there's a lot of stats on that.
There's a lot of stats that young men are choosing celibacy over being in a relationship with a far left woman. And so that's going to skew the women more conservative. But then you also have who's having the abortions. It's not the far right conservatives. It's the far left of the spectrum. That's where the abortions are happening.
Yep.
And so they're not breeding.
Yeah, but the issue is far right people can raise moderate and leftist children.
Well, that's
right. And
moderate is better than what you get out of the far left.
I fully get it. And that's it. I mean, everybody said, well, conservatives are having kids. Yeah, but conservatives raise liberal kids. Liberals raise conservative kids. Very good friend of mine. All 4 of his kids are lean much farther to the right than him. All 4. Bemoaned that one day. I said, well, all 4 of mine lean much farther to the left. So if you need to talk to somebody who's a little bit more moderate, call one of my kids. And the day that I feel like I need to talk to a really conservative kid, I'll call one of yours and we'll call it even, right? We'll trade.
To speak to that, the far left has had control over all of the institutions of power for more than a generation. And so the pushback of that is that this is the most conservative youngest generation ever, because now it's countercultural to be conservative. And so whatever is the accepted philosophy of all the ones in power, so Hollywood, education, music, all of the cultural institutions have been far left for so long that it's now cool and edgy to be conservative. It's now cool and edgy to be more moderate. A woman just went viral because she was in a very moderate wedding gown because she said she wanted her wedding gown to be super serious, to reflect how she feels about the marriage.
She got roasted on social media.
She got roasted because people took that as an insult of their choices. When no, she was just stating why she chose what she chose. She said nothing about other people's choices. And then people called her a hypocrite because she had a very immodest reception dress without seeing that she was situation specific, right? She was a single woman walking into that church. It was also a church that she got married in. She was a single woman walking into that church. She wanted that to be modest and to reflect the seriousness of the ceremony. And then afterwards, it was a party. It wasn't in a religious building. It was just in some banquet hall somewhere. So like, there are different modesty rules for location, but people roasted her.
Let me boil this down so the men will understand what you just said. Amanda liked the wedding dress and thought it was appropriate. Amanda also liked the party dress and thought it was appropriate. Therefore, everything was okay. Let me explain that to the guys so they understand what she just said.
Is that's not what I said.
That's what we heard.
Yeah, exactly.
I wouldn't want the wedding dress because it was like every inch of skin from here down was covered except for her fingertips. I wouldn't have chosen that, and I didn't. I did a strapless dress, and I wouldn't necessarily pick that for my daughters either because it seems very restrictive. But that's what she chose, and I'm happy for her. And I don't feel judged because she chose something more modest than I did. And her reception dress was hideous. It was basically a bathing suit with a bird cage. I don't like that, and I would never wear that. But that's her choice. And
now we get the real female comment on female attire. Now we're getting somewhere.
It doesn't affect my choices or my life at all. That's what she chose. And the fact that these women projected their insecurities on her statements and her choices says a lot about who they are as people, honestly.
Well, that's the thing with the internet now, right? Is anyone can sit behind a screen name and say whatever they want, and it gives power,
and also get their feelings hurt about anything.
They get in their emotions and they become a keyboard warrior.
Oh yeah,
that's what we call it, a keyboard warrior.
Yeah.
Do you have that in gaming?
Oh yeah, dude, it's the worst.
Do you have people that you can tell you can trigger them in a heart? You like after a while playing with them, you go, if I say this phrase, they're completely off their game, and I can beat them.
100%. 100%. It happens all the time.
Yes.
And people, you have to have moderators in your chat because people will say the wildest things, and you are in charge of your channel, and you have to keep it appropriate.
You have to have a moderator who moderates your channel.
Multiple people moderating your channel whenever you're live.
Okay. So without getting us in trouble, what are some of the topics or things that people say that you're out of the channel?
Anything having to do with Germany in the late 1930s, early 1940s.
You can't talk about gender.
Okay.
You can't talk about abortions. You can't talk about what's some other things?
Voluntarily exiting the planet.
Can't talk about suicide. Yep. Can't talk about politics is heavily like moderated. You can talk about it, but it's a gray area. Yeah, because basically all these live streaming platforms, now there are a few more coming out, but they're like YouTube, right? They are majority run by liberals. You've got Twitch, which is based out of San Francisco. You've got YouTube, which is based out of San Francisco. You've got all these companies that are media companies, and we know that the media is basically liberal. And so they have canceled people's channels and their income. They canceled one girl because she stated there was 2 genders. Yeah. She said, I believe there's 2 genders. They canceled her entire channel and she had to go get a regular job because of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was big news in our world when that happened. Because it's not a free speech platform. So then you have these companies like Rumble that have come out, and there's another platform called Kick.
Mm-hmm.
Kick is a free speech platform. But then you've got people that are on Kick, right? They're doing, this is a new thing on Kick. This is blowing up all over the internet. It's how to catch a predator. So people are live streaming themselves, acting as if they are an underage child and messaging these predators. And then they go to the location or have the predator come meet them. And then they call the police. But in the meantime, before the police show up, they basically expose the predator on the internet on a live stream. And these live streams are getting 50, 60, 100,000 concurrent viewers.
Unfortunately, a lot of those people are not working with law enforcement, and it's not getting these people arrested.
They're not.
So they're not doing it the right way. So they're just monetizing.
They're doing it for views.
Yeah, they're just monetizing the seedy underbelly of the internet without improving the world, and they're calling themselves a warrior.
Yep, that happens a lot.
It's icky.
That does not sound good. That sounds like I mean, to me, I don't spend a lot of time. I mean, I'm on 4 times a week. We do this show on social media, right? And that's about the extent of it. I spend a few minutes in the morning cruising through for silly Instagram videos because there's some funny stuff out there. Yeah. That's about it. The rest of the time, I'm not in it. It's just not my thing. And I really, like I told you, I don't need other platforms, right? If I could get rid of, there's one I'd love to get rid of. We're working on it.
Okay.
I'll give you updates.
What platform is that?
I can't tell you on the air, but we're working on it.
Tell me after.
I'll tell you afterwards. But anyway, I look at that. There's so much bad that goes on the internet when it could be such a good thing, right? Like when you have your phone and you look up directions, that's a good thing. But when you have your phone, you look up directions, and then your phone tells all the advertisers, this person is in this area and you want to advertise. To me, we had talked about, you were gone, and I had saved the article for last week, surveillance capitalism, which is what we're all experiencing right now as people that have phones, have smartphones, have all these different devices and stuff, is we're being surveilled by these large tech companies, and then they are taking our information and selling it to people that then will market to us.
100%.
And I didn't give my consent to that. No one else did. Once somebody gets smart enough and sues them and stops that, the entire, their hold and grasp and control over what's going on in social media all goes away.
People have tried to sue them for that. It hasn't worked so far. Hasn't even made it to Supreme Court yet.
When it does, I'm rooting for whoever's suing. Right? We didn't give consent. I mean, right now I'm watching videos on, if you buy a new car, you have, and I haven't bought a new car, but if you bought a new car, you have to go in and turn all these apps off because they're listening to you as you're driving in your car. I don't want somebody listening.
So this is actually so funny. I got a quick story for you. I literally told my girlfriend this yesterday. I said, I've smartened up. And she goes, what do you mean? I said, instead of making my argument to you or about something I want done, I say it around your phone, and then your phone sells you on my point of view. And it's worked for a couple months now. It's worked on certain things, like a place where I wanted to go on a trip that she didn't originally want to go, which was Turkey. So she had never been like,
can't imagine why she doesn't
never wanted to go to
Turkey,
never wanted to do anything. So I started saying it around her phone, knowing that she watches these vacation destination videos.
And they all started popping up.
All the Turkey started popping up. And she told me yesterday, she goes, you know, you've always said Turkey. I've been seeing Turkey recently on my phone. It's actually really pretty. And I was like, yeah, I did that on purpose.
There's a great video of a guy who's like, look, I'm going to tell you how to get a surf trip. Right? So he goes up to his wife's phone. And he says, Steve needs a surf trip. Steve needs a surf trip to the Metawas. Steve, a surf trip with buddies. Buddy trip, surf trip, Steve. Yep. Steve needs a new surfboard for his birthday. Says that to her phone. And the phone will then take care of the rest of the marketing.
100%. That's what's happening.
You know what that is? That's the Christmas Story strategy. He pulls out all of the advertisements for a Red Ryder BB gun and he slides it into his parents' reading material, their magazines and newspapers. It's the Christmas Story strategy.
It's a great marketing strategy.
Like I want to be surveilled less, right? And all of these, I mean, at least now they'll give you, will you allow this app to monitor you? And you can say no, which I laugh hysterically at because I know it's still monitoring me, right? But I feel like I told it no.
I cross my fingers, though.
I know. We're not all there. But I think eventually people are going to get fed up with that, right? And I think eventually they're going to start leaving their phone and not taking it places they want to go, right? They're good because they want to get disconnected from all of those things.
Well, they make a Faraday bag that is actually a phone size, and you can put your phone in there whenever you don't want it to listen to you.
I watched that in Terminator 4 or 5. It's really just a Doritos bag, and then you zip. No, I'm just kidding.
They sell a box that will charge your phone that you put it's not locked, but it's a box. And then there's like this plan for extending the amount of time you are further than 10 feet away from your phone every day to try and help millennial parents to disconnect from the phone and not have it with us 100% of the time. When
phones were not smart and they were just these huge brick phones, to do the job that I had to do and be mobile, you were on that phone all the time.
Yeah.
So I got to the point where I had to turn the ringer off. I mean, I don't ever use the ringer on my phone.
Me either.
Yeah.
I can't do it. It was just
only barbarians keep the ringer
stressing me out, right? Septuagenarians, did you say keep it on?
Barbarians.
Anyway, so, but I used to joke back then, when I retire, there's gonna be a box at my front door, and you're gonna leave your phone in the box. I don't want your phone in my house. If you come to visit me, we're gonna visit. We're not gonna sit here and watch you scroll on your phone. And now I'm literally thinking, well, maybe I do need the Faraday box. Just drop it in there, and then that way it just goes away.
Yeah.
And then the police are going to show up. 17 people have disappeared at your house this morning. Yeah, it's a family reunion. Yeah, we're having a lot of fun. Yeah, we're going to enjoy that. No, the thought of that whole surveillance is just driving me nuts. And and phones they're great because you can do so much with them now that we couldn't do as kids. But I mean, at the same time, the amount of information that is being sold, marketed, delivered to people. I mean, I guarantee you, Google and YouTube and all those have a profile on every single one of us.
I mean, Snowden pointed this out 15 years ago, and they were so mad that he blew the whistle on this that he had to leave the country. Yeah. So
he did do some other things too.
He did, but that was the main driving issue behind him originally doing it was the data collection of individuals without their knowledge of it.
All right. Has anybody watched any of the Democratic National Convention? Tonight is night 3. Did anybody lose a bet and have to watch it? I guess I should ask.
I've only seen like really tragic clips. I haven't seen.
I've watched the meme internet of it.
Yeah, I've just seen like the people memeing on it, and honestly, it's been people being like, "I don't have to do any edits. Just watch what they say. Just watch how they act."
Yeah, I haven't watched a lick of it. Now, honestly, I didn't watch much of the Republican convention either. I find all of this. I know what I want our country to look like. I know who I think is the only candidate that can kind of help us get there, and that's Trump. The rest of this is just theater and show.
Correct.
And until the election, I know what I have to do. I got to vote, and I got to get as many other people to vote that feel the same way. And if people ask me questions, I explain why I'm voting. The rest of it's theater to keep us occupied and not focusing on other things that are important in our own individual lives and are important around the world.
Satiating the mob.
Yes. Yes. All of you that are posting on this every day, that are obsessing over it, you're the ones that were first in line to see the Christians slaughtered at the Colosseum.
Although I am enjoying the memes. So, I mean, it's a double-edged sword.
Okay. So you're telling your parents you're not going to the Coliseum, but you're sneaking in there after everything started to see the end.
No, I just like to hear the tea afterwards. Matt Walsh went to the DNC in costume as a hipster and wandered around, and people ultimately like figured it out. So there's like Matt Walsh sighting alerts going through group chats at the DNC. It's hilarious.
I would like to dress up as Matt Walsh and go in and then get caught. I'm really not Matt Walsh. I just wanted to see how long you people would let me stay in here.
Dude, people are losing their mind just at his presence. Even if he's not saying anything, they like freak out at the sight of him. He's like Voldemort.
Nothing says acceptance like outing people.
Yeah, right?
Nothing says acceptance like that.
Have you seen these clips of Charlie Kirk there?
No, I haven't seen those.
Oh, he's walking around and he's asking people why they're voting for Harris.
Yeah.
And it is hilarious.
She's just a good person.
He goes, well, what has she done in the past 4 years that makes you want to vote for her? And then he puts a microphone in their face and one guy goes, sure, I'll tell you. And then he pauses for a second, stumbles over his words. He goes, actually, don't use this. then walks away. And it's just so funny because it seems to me like she's running as if on this like premise as if she hasn't been in office for the past 4 years.
It's wild.
And she's like, well, this is going to change. This is going to change. And people are like, well, why didn't you do that these past 3.5 years you've been there?
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't know. It's ridiculous. It's a clown show. It's a clown show.
So Charles Payne was on Gutfeld. It was either, I think it was last night reviewing or the night before reviewing. It's kind of, they're a little off because the DNC ends and then Gutfeld comes on right afterwards, late at night. Mm-hmm. So the next day, they're really rehashing 2 days ago when you watch the shows. But Charles Payne said the same thing. Kamala Harris is running against herself as though she hasn't been there for 3.5 years.
Yeah.
But then Charles Payne rightly says, and very astutely, she says they're trying to put us back in chains. He's like, you mean the Democratic Party? Because the Democratic Party was the party that wanted to keep you in chains. So when you say they're trying to take us back and put us in chains, do you mean your own party, right? He said, it's amazing how many times Democrats are running against Democrats in all of these speeches.
Right.
It's as though they had nothing to do with the train. It's as though they're walking around with the car keys. The car is completely smashed. They've taken out 75 other cars in the destruction of their own. They go, I don't know what happened. Well, whose keys are those? Well, those are mine. What car is that? I don't know. Well, it's funny because your car keys match that. No, I'm sure that's not my car.
Teddy Kennedy? Are we talking about Teddy Kennedy again?
I wasn't going to go there, but that is a very good, that's a very good analogy. Yeah, I thought Charles Payne was phenomenal. The other thought I had watching some of the clips of it and Joe Biden speaking, 83 million people supposedly voted for Joe. 83 million people. Mm-hmm. He breezed through the primaries in the Democratic process. Crushed everybody else. They kept Kennedy out. They kept all the other people out. Not a serious contender. And then he got kneecapped. Nancy Pelosi, Barack Obama, whoever went in and basically Julius Caesared him, right? He gets to breathe.
It was a coup.
It was a coup, right?
Brute?
Yes. Not one of those 83 million people have gone to the White House to protest. Not one of those 83 million people has started a blog saying this was wrong.
No.
Not one of those 83 million people is outside the DNC protesting. So he got 83 million votes because he was the most beloved person. I know why. I'm working my way there.
All right.
Because he was the most beloved president of all time. He was the greatest president of all time. Everyone loved Joe. He's just a working class guy. Not one of them gave a rat's rear rump about him losing and not being able to run again. They didn't protest. They didn't object. They didn't fight about it. They didn't hold rallies about it. Not one. And you just have to ask yourself, how loved was he really?
Yep.
And how did he really get 83 million? I mean, look, I think people still love Obama. I think there are voters that love Obama and think he was the greatest president of their lifetime. I know that. I know there are people on the Trump side that think Donald Trump was the greatest president of their lifetime, right? There are still people that are older that nostalgically remember Ronald Reagan's 8 years in office and what amazing. There's a few people that would like to bring up Clinton, but they don't want to bring up all the dark stuff that has since come out. Right. But you when you look at that, I don't see anybody 4 years from now, 8 years from now, 12 years from now going, Joe Biden's administration was great.
No, it's not going to be a thing.
They have already swept this under the rug, but they managed to get 83 million votes to get him elected.
It's interesting.
And you have to think about the psychological operation that went on to get 83 million votes, if it was really 83 million votes for him. And then none of those people care that he was denied the opportunity to run for a second office. Not one thing. They didn't complain about how he was treated. He was pushed back till almost midnight, right? Nobody wanted to watch him anyway. You could have put him on at 8 o'clock and nobody would have turned him on.
Yep.
So it just was, to me, a revelation. I said, I just cannot believe that many people voted for this man and not one of them cared that he got dumped unceremoniously, wrongly, and against all the rules.
But do you know how they're justifying it?
I do know, but you tell me.
They're justifying it by saying we're not in a cult. They're unquestioningly going along with whatever the Democratic Party says without even a moment's pause as to the fact that nobody voted for this woman when she ran for the nomination in the first place. And now she's suddenly the nominee without a single primary vote being cast for her ever in 2 potential Democratic primaries in the presidential spot, but they're saying that they're doing it because they're not in a cult.
So you're saying they're in a cult? I'm trying to make sure I got this. You're saying they're in a cult.
I typically believe that the people that are in the cult are the last ones to realize that they're in the cult.
This may be too soon, and it's a horrible reference, but I'm going to say it anyway. Somewhere in hell, Jim Jones is going, I should have reached for more. I should have tried for greater things.
You might have to explain Jim Jones.
Oh, no. People that are our age got it. Levi got it because he's smiling over there. Levi got it. Yeah. Somewhere in hell, Jim Jones is thinking, I could have done so much more.
I'm trying to find a
Kamala I just had the internet and the media at the time. I was talking to a very nice person earlier today, and they told me, not a Kamala Harris fan, but that Kamala's ads are all nice and they're sweet and there's no negativity, and Trump's ads seem to be all negative. And I said, well, that's a very interesting observation. You have part of the plan down, but you didn't pick up the back half. I said, she doesn't have to run a single negative ad from now until the end of November, or the middle of November, if she chooses to. She doesn't have to, because the media will run every single negative story for her. Mm-hmm. They will carry that water. If she spends money on negative ads, it's really a waste of time. It's like sending me another Tom Leak mailer. You just don't need to, right? The media is going to pick that up and run with it, and they're going to go.
I've got a statistic here for you that was posted on X today.
Yeah.
By Elon Musk himself. The man himself. And it says, it's very interesting, actually, if I can pull it up here. Mm-hmm. All right, here it is. Legacy media, it's the bias of legacy media. 84% of legacy media reports positively on Harris and 89% negatively on Donald Trump.
Yeah, she doesn't have to run a negative ad.
That's insane.
They're doing it on ABC, NBC, CBS, MSNBC, and CNN. I think there's still 4 people watching that. Mostly as punishment for doing something wrong in school. And then you also have PBS. You have all of the social media platforms, and they will all trumpet how amazing she is. Months ago.
Except X.
Months ago. Yes, X is a savior. Months ago, they were all talking about dumping her.
Yeah.
The same platforms are... And so when I look at these and I look at the poll numbers, I know when I'm being took, right? And that's why I'm not paying attention to anything between now and Election Day, because there's no sense to watch it. My job is to go vote. I am not going to let this ramp me up. I'm not going to get excited about this. I'm just going to go out and do my job.
Yep.
Because my job is to go vote and get as many people to vote as possible. I can promise you that there will be, if she were to win, there'll be people on the right that will lose their mind. Not near as many people on the left. If Trump wins this election, they will go nuts. If you think 2016, when they were yelling at the sky with those ridiculous hats on, none of them anatomically correct, I might add. If you think that that's where they'll start at that level of insanity and then work their way up. There's no, okay, we lost a ballot box. Let's move on, or let's figure something else out.
Yeah.
And Amanda, I do agree with you, your earlier comment about the Democratic Party. I've thought the Democratic Party has been held together by one thing for 8 years, and that is their visceral hatred for one man, Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And that has held them together. I did not think that hatred could coalesce, but it is metastasized inside the Democratic Party, and some of their work. And the way they have gotten people to think about Donald Trump, who they all lauded, asked for campaign donations for, wanted him to show up in at their rallies, wanted to be his friend. And the minute he beat them in politics, he's the worst thing that ever happened to the country. I mean, if you can't see that, if you're blind to it, right? And I know there's a lot of people, I'm saying, that cannot physically see the manipulation that's going on around.
Facts.
Yes.
Well said.
Babylon Bee is killing it. If you need some,
I love the Babylon Bee.
If you need some happiness in your life, then go to Babylon Bee and scroll. This one's hilarious. Biden bummed to realize that all he had to do to stay in the race was to not show up to the debate and never speak to reporters ever again. Turns out that's the strategy this year, folks.
Yes. Well, I've seen a couple of times. I don't know if you guys watch this. Levi, you're an athlete. Amanda, you were an athlete at one time in a sport, swimming. It's still a sport. It hasn't been disqualified from the Olympics yet.
No judges.
It doesn't. So it is a sport. Did you see Kamala's speech to the football team?
Yeah,
no,
that's
I
bad.
didn't.
Oh, Levi. I know. I mean, if you're
what football team?
Well, it was a high school football team.
Oh, okay.
And so, I mean, if you're like, let me give you something to compare
in Chicago.
To. So, do you remember? It was on the way to Chicago. Do you remember the Titans?
Yeah.
That amazing speech at halftime.
Great movie. One of the best football movies of all time.
Yes, one of the great. Do you remember Rudy's the speech in Rudy?
Yep.
Yeah. Do you remember
Friday Night Lights?
Friday Night Lights, all of those, right? This was not that.
Okay, well,
this was not that.
I wasn't
there was no
expecting that.
part of this. This was not that.
The opposite, even.
One of the lines in there, no matter how hard you work, right? You can still be undefeated even if you lose games. Just let it sink in.
Doesn't even logically make sense.
No. I believe that's how she...
That's false by definition.
I believe in her mind...
Literally false.
In her mind, she's undefeated in Democratic primaries.
This is the one
you can still be undefeated, Amanda, and win.
Well, I'm undefeated in Democratic primaries as well.
That is correct.
Currently undefeated in Democratic primaries.
Yes.
This was the one I was looking for. I will fix things if you vote me into office, says woman currently in office.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's Kamala Harris's strategy, everybody.
Look, I think it is going to be very interesting, but please don't lose your minds over this. Just go do your job. Do your research, vote. Mm-hmm. Look, I think there's only one way to vote if you want freedom. Whenever someone tells you they're going to snatch patents away from companies and they tell you they're going to price fix, that's not democracy. So those of you that are out there that are saying you want to save democracy should listen to what potentially your candidate might be saying.
Was it Ali Quippa High School?
That might be it.
Don't lose your minds, people, because I'll lose mine for you.
Nah, I'm not losing my mind. I got things to do. I got stuff to do.
Yeah, like move out of the country if certain things happen.
Like buy property. And
like Costa Rica.
Levi has a go bag that he's ready to pick up and run with. So
I do.
I'm not even going to be in the country when the election happens.
You're not. You're not coming
back. I'll be in Dubai surfing and snowboarding in the same day.
Yes.
So
in the same place.
Okay, This was campaign 2024 during the campaign bus tour, Western Pennsylvania. Harris and Walz talked to the football team. Okay, I'll drop that in the comments for anyone that wants to see
If that football team doesn't win a game this season, and I don't hope that or wish that upon those poor children, because they just got picked out of nowhere for her to show up. But if they don't win a game this season, the mockery is going to be. I hope they win their first game right out of the gate.
Speaking of football, we have a few minutes left.
Yes.
Florida State plays Georgia Tech on Saturday.
Yes. Florida State all the way.
What the what?
Do they cover the spread?
What's the spread?
10.5.
Ooh, we're way on the road.
Here's my thing with Florida State. You never know which Florida State team you're going to get. Are you going to get the team that went undefeated, or are you going to get the team that's middle of the pack? You guys lost a lot of players that transferred out because they didn't get a chance to play in the college playoff.
So here's my thing. There years ago, 2 years ago, 4 years ago, I would have told 8 years ago, 6 years ago, I would have told you that Florida State is going to lay an egg in this game.
Mm-hmm.
There's one reason I don't think Florida State lays an egg in this game. That's Mike Norvell.
Okay.
I think Mike Norvell is one of the most underrated coaches in the country.
Okay.
He's underrated because he's coaching in the ACC. He's underrated because his team did not get an opportunity to play legitimately in the college football playoff last year. Right? Jordan Travis was a magical player who got injured in a meaningless game.
Yep.
Right.
Unfortunate.
Very unfortunate. And he's a great young man, and I hope he has a great pro career because he's just a good person.
Yep.
So we will find out what kind of coach Mike Norvell is. He's got a guy with a lot of consonants and vowels in his last name I can't pronounce. He used to be a quarterback at Clemson and then out on the West Coast somewhere, who's got an arm and got talent. So if that guy comes out as a gunslinger, Mike Norvell obviously is a good coach of him. He's got 2 backup quarterbacks. He's got Glenn, who didn't really have a chance, which maybe my one knock on Mike Norvell is I would have prepared him a lot more in case Jordan Travis went down. But I guess Travis was so good, you're just like, we're just going to ride him. And then they have I think a freshman who's supposed to just be an unbelievable player too.
Yep.
So I think he's done well in the portal. Again, this year, I think there's a lot of kids that recognize there's a chance to go to Florida State, have some buzz and play. So I think they win that game. I'm going to tell you the game I'm really, 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 really nervous about is Boston College. Boston College torched us last year.
Yep.
We barely won at Boston College. So their QB is back. And we've got a new QB. It'll be week 2 in the regular season, week 3 for us, because we play in the 0 week. I don't understand that completely. We are going to get Reese in here. So you may have to come in next week. We're going to have to do football picks.
I'm down.
So
let's do it.
We may have to do it Thursday and then do trivia or bypass trivia next Thursday because I think Thursday's his day. But we got to pick the college football and the NFL.
Okay.
So put some time in. I'll get Blake in here as well. Blake is going to be picking Pittsburgh, so I just want you to know that.
I mean, okay, you can have Pittsburgh. They're not going to do anything.
I'm giving him Pittsburgh and 2 wins just to get the 500.
Well, the big thing with the NFL that I think we see, you hear all these analysts telling you how good the Houston Texans are going to be. I bet you the Jags win the AFC South.
That would make me incredibly happy because I have a brother who lives in Houston, who grew up in Florida.
I have a brother who lives in Houston.
And he's a pain in the ass about Houston sports. So when Houston sports do well over the Jaguars or over the Atlanta Braves, I got to hear the popping and I got to hear the crow.
Speaking of the Braves, they beat the Phillies last night. And they play him again tonight.
My brother was there. It was his birthday last night. They got a 3-game set with them. The Braves need to take all 3.
Fried's pitching tonight. Yeah, they need all 3.
They need all 3. 2 out of the 3 is minimally acceptable. The Phillies are struggling. The problem is the Braves just keep getting injured. Reed went down 6 to 8 weeks with a broken bone, hit by a pitch.
Yep.
You know, it's just like the hits just keep coming. But I'm like, man, if we could just get a few more guys back, just a few more guys back.
Just got to get healthy by playoffs.
Yes. And right now we're hanging on to the last wild card spot by 2.5 game over the Mets of all teams.
Yep.
But it would do me a great emotional lift to see the Phillies cave because the Phillies have been our nemesis in the playoffs. So I would love to see them cave.
And the Mets were tied when I walked in here today.
Mm-hmm.
And the Mets.
Look at you. Man, this is called sports.
And the
this
Mets
is Guy
won.
Sports. He knew they were playing.
I'm doing research for the show that I didn't know I was
hosting. And the
hosting,
Mets won
so you guys have fun.
4-3 against the Orioles. But you heard it here first. Mike chooses FSU to win this weekend. I'm going to put my mortgage on it. If they lose, I'm sending him a Venmo so I can pay my mortgage.
Yes, I'll help him out with his mortgage. I don't bet on those kind of things, so I give you guys full credit for doing that. But I do think it's going to win. I'm going to be in a different time zone. So watching the game is going to be very interesting.
Nice.
Because I'm with family who has other plans in said different time zone. I know. The sacrifices you make for loved ones.
Yes, yes.
All right, Levi, welcome back.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Glad
Amanda, that was football, by the way, for the last few minutes.
I don't know. I disassociated.
With baseball sprinkled in.
You know, I looked over there and I see the look in my eyes when you begin to talk about issues. That's what I saw from you. I'm just saying.
I'm just here to push the buttons.
All right, this is St. Augustine this evening, the Mike Davis Show. Thank you all for watching. Have a great week. Amanda and the Bollocks boys will be back tomorrow night. I'll see you guys on Monday to find out if I won or not in the Florida State game.
Awesome.
All right,
Take care, everybody.
Have a great time.
Bye.